All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Hizzy Hustle. I am your host, Tyler Heisman, licensed realtor here in the Okanagan. Um, Before we get started, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're going to be doing this stuff quite often. I gotta say, I'm disappointed. We're here. It's happening. Tariffs have been implemented 25% across the board for our economy. Trudeau is about to take the stand here. He's actually just walked out, and we're going to take a listen to see what's going on. I thought we were going to be able to avoid it. Obviously, we didn't do our job. I saw, the UK Prime Minister came and met with the United States, and God knows what happened in that meeting because automatically it was just, yep, nope, there's a good chance that we're not going to tariff them. I was like, holy crap, like, what are we doing on our side, right? Like, obviously, there's a big push to try to get the energy sector, the automotive sector, the steel and aluminum sector kind of back flourishing in the American side of things when I can't see how the current deal doesn't already benefit them, right? Like, obviously, he's trying to create jobs. Like, there's obviously a political analytic that he's targeting to try to make it sound like he's done a good thing, like creating more jobs. He wants to be the most job creating, peacemaking president in history or something like that, right? So I see that kind of being the root to a lot of these issues. I'm really hoping that we can figure this out, but for now, let's tune into Mr. Trudy here and see what he has to say about what is happening across the border. Sorry, it takes me a second to adjust.
To address the plan in more detail. Let's take a listen in live.
The United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response. Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time.
So this is what he had said the first time around when he had made this announcement. Oh, look, that's a horrible time to pause on Melanie. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Apparently, this is supposed to be a direct address to Donald Trump as well in this speech. I don't know if he's going to make that portion clear or not, but yeah.
Encore aujourd'hui, on se voit forcé d'imposer des droits de douane de 25%, and that the United States consumers in Canada or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes, and everything in between. They've chosen to harm American national security, impeding access to the abundant critical minerals, energy, building materials, and fertilizers that we have and that the United States needs to grow and prosper. They've chosen to launch a trade war that will, first and foremost, harm American families. They've chosen to sabotage their own agenda that was supposed to usher in a new golden age for the United States. And they've chosen to undermine the incredible work we've done together to tackle the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that must be wiped from the face of the earth. So on that point, let me be crystal clear. There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today. Now, the legal pretext your government is using to bring in these tariffs is that Canada is apparently unwilling to help in the fight against illegal fentanyl. Well, that is totally false. Let's look at the facts. Our border is already safe and secure. Far less than 1% of fentanyl flows and less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States comes from Canada. But we acted because we know we can always do better. We responded to concerns, including from the President, by implementing an ambitious $1.3 billion border plan.
See, I dislike this. He needs to stop lying about this, saying that it was because of Trump that he did this. This was already implemented prior to prorogation and prior to any of these threats and stuff like that. Kind of, well, not prior to the threats. Like it was prior to inauguration, right? So, yeah, it just, it's not technically correct.
A border plan that includes generational investments in new AI and imaging tools to stop the flow of fentanyl in its tracks, stronger coordination and information sharing with American agencies, along with the deployment of drones, helicopters, and additional personnel to keep our border secure. Now, a month ago, as part of an agreement with the United States that paused the tariffs, we made further commitments. We appointed Kevin Brasseau as our fentanyl czar, a man who dedicated his multi-decade career in law enforcement to combating organized crime networks and drug trafficking. We designated 7 drug cartels, sick, evil groups who cynically profit off the pain and suffering of people on both sides of the border, as the terrorist organizations that they are.
That's another one that I'm happy about, but that shouldn't have happened because somebody else told you to do it.
And just yesterday, we launched a new joint operations partnership supported by a $200 million investment between Canada's security and law enforcement agencies, a partnership that will enhance the coordination of information and intelligence in order to thwart criminal gangs involved in the illegal fentanyl trade. And critically, our actions are working. As the U.S. Customs and Border Protection just acknowledged, there was a 97% drop in fentanyl seizures from January compared to December, to a near zero low of less than half an ounce seized in January, even with all the further enforcements and actions we've taken at the borders. In sum, we stepped up. We engaged closely and constructively with the President and his administration. We did everything we promised. We stuck to our word. And we did it because we believe in working together to protect our citizens. Now I want to speak directly to one specific American.
Okay, there it is.
Donald. In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world.
And he needs to go on this, like, wholeheartedly on this point, because Canada and America together has always been an economic powerhouse. Obviously, we were included in the US's infrastructure to be an economic powerhouse, but we have so many resources to provide. It doesn't make sense to make anyone suffer to try to get one side to be more of a winner, right? Like, I can't wrap my head around it. It really doesn't make any sense. So that emotional plea to Americans that's going to get the American people to rally behind their individual senators and areas that are more affected by these types of tariffs, those are going to be Canada's best friends in trying to get this whole situation dealt with.
Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Ooh, I don't know if I agree with that.
We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see. And now, to my fellow Canadians, I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this storm.
A lot of the issues that we're facing are not going to be directly related to the tariffs. It is a long-going problem that has been running for years of overspending and lack of domestic investments in infrastructure that is really going to be the backbone of why we're being harmed, because we don't have the foundation to be independent already, and we have to try to make it happen now amidst all these issues. That's going to be what hurts. So I really dislike kind of twisting it as if you're going to blame what's happening down below the 49th parallel as to what is going to hurt Canadians the most. But it's been, unfortunately, the leadership of this government that has put us into this position that we're in now to be harmed so greatly. Like, if we would have had pipelines finished, the Keystone, the Trans-Canada, like all these types of things, you know, if we were investing more in our oil fields, if we had built refineries and LNG plants and hydro dams and all these types of things to help boost our economy and our infrastructure, then we wouldn't have been harmed so much. But the fact that everything's intertwined so greatly and we rely on the US's infrastructure to boast and to broaden our own economy, I think it's going to be really, really harmful. So they need to take accountability for the mistakes that they made and what they've done to put us in this position. And the other side needs to be very, very frank with that. So the other thing that makes that I want to make mention is, you know, he's done in a week. Trudeau's done in a week. And the guy that's taking over wants to carbon tax the big polluters, i.e. the steel industry, the oil industry, and all those types of people that are going to be literally the backbone for Canada's economy coming into this next tough time. He wants to carbon tax them and say that it's not going to affect America or Canadians, and we're not going to pay the price. You know what? You're probably right. We're not going to pay the price because they're going to pack up and move down south. So
from expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible to providing direct...
Only if you're using money generated from the tariffs. If you're giving away more money to people as stimulus and as social benefits, like you're going to add so much more inflationary issues to this already really, really troubling time. Like, oh my God, they just don't learn.
Supports to businesses, we will be there as needed to help. But Canada, make no mistake, no matter how long this lasts, no matter what the cost, the federal government and other orders of government will be there for you. We will defend Canadian jobs. We will take measures to prevent predatory behavior that threatens Canadian companies because of the impacts of this trade war, leaving them open to takeovers. We will relentlessly fight to protect our economy. We will stand up for Canadians every single second of every single day because this country is worth fighting for. Les derniers mois,
well, there it is. Trade war has been started. Gosh, I really don't know how I feel about it. I think we need to be really, really careful. I think he's not wrong. He's definitely not wrong. And unfortunately, the guy is pretty unreasonable whenever he's making his remarks, to say the least. So we kind of just have to let this play out. We have to let the Americans feel the pain, and hopefully we can get ourselves through it. Obviously, they can definitely get through it first. I really, really hope that we can bolster our trade relationship with the U.S., but Canada, I'm sure we can find other trading partners. We just never had to need them, right? And if they're going to be going hard at everybody else, then hopefully Canada can manage to sneak in some trade deals with some other countries and whatnot, and kind of diversify a little bit more, right? You put all your eggs in one basket and the basket breaks, you're left with a bunch of eggs on the ground, right? So, we saw it coming. Now's the time to take care of yourself, budget, spend as little money as possible, be prepared, be nice to your boss, work hard. If you're in school, really pay attention, get good grades, try to get yourself in a winning position, because I think we're going to go through a really, really tough 4 years, and I hope that whoever gets the next mandate in our government really steps up and delivers on all these remarks that everybody's been making in relation to boosting Canada's economy, making sure that this Trans-Canada pipeline goes through, more LNG, more power or energy related infrastructure, nuclear, automotive, like all that type of stuff. Like, we need to go like roaring 20s, like crazy industrial, and get this country back to where it should have been by this point, right? Like, 10 years have passed since my time in the oil field, and ever since I left during the Conservative time, it's just gotten worse. So it's not a fun one today, not a happy video, but it is what it is, and this is where we're at. So yeah, we'll touch base probably on some other stuff here over the course of the week, but for now it sounds like we are officially in a trade war. So enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll catch you on the next one. So take care.